Hey, J.C Agajanian here, broker associate with eXp, top grossing agent with the Whissel Realty Group, summarizing for you the mastermind that the Fast Forward Network put together for us each week. Let's get straight into it.
What's happening? It's Monday morning, which means it's time for another Mastermind Recap. And today we are continuing to talk about the shift we've experienced in the market and how we can help sellers primarily. So that's what we're discussing today. And before we dive into it, a couple interesting points were made. So first of all, the general concept of moving from a desire-based market into a needs-based market is what we've experienced. And so you're going to have to approach people with a different state of mind. Most significantly, they're going to be concerned with speed, convenience, and certainty. And so that's what we have to keep in mind when we talk to them. And as we dig into today's topic, which is basically what are you doing in light of this new market to take advantage and to grow your business? Most of the agents that I'm going to mention who chimed in and gave their opinion are doing big things. I would say probably the least amount of production that one of these agents mentioned is like 50 million last year. Some of them 100 and 200 million, many of which have 1.5 to 2x their business in the last 24 months. So these people are more than credible, and their opinions are worth listening to. So let's get straight into it. First, we had a response from David Brook in Connecticut. And basically his concept was to let's first go after the sellers and help them understand, that they've of course got a ton of equity, but maybe they're unsure of where to go next. So he talked about scripts and kind of lines of conversation to have with them. So basically, they're probably going to fall into one of a couple of camps. First of all, did you not even talk about their home? Because there's, for the most case, they're going to be looking to sell and then buy, and whether that's sell and buy in your market or sell and buy in another market, usually there's a purchase connected to a sale. So he talked about just not feeling listing hungry, and saying, hey, did you buy a new house yet? Oh no, why is that? Well, if it's because of the interest rates and the economy, then okay, let's pause and try and go back to the initial motivation. Hey, why did you get started down this path in the first place? And before you got to the rates and the economy, and that stopped you, what really was motivating you to get going in the first place? If that's not the answer, if it's really because they had essentially buyer fatigue, they got sick of getting bidden out, are not interested in a bidding war, didn't like how quickly things are moving and didn't want to feel rushed or whatever, then you can really take advantage of that. And you can educate them and have a whole different conversation on how things are not the same as they were literally 1 to 2 months ago. And they're going to have a much better chance at getting that home that's perfect for them in now just a few weeks later, now in this market, as we had before. Of course, in the meantime, there's a home to sell, and we'll come back and circle that later. I've mentioned HomeBot a bunch of times, but David mentioned it as well, and using it to help keep your sellers in tune with the market and stay in front of them. And he also made a point of making sure that we are hitting them with different media of communication. So the basic call, text, email, snail mail. You don't know how people want to be communicated with until you make an effort and see which one's going to stick. Some people basically ignore all their text messages. Some people never check email. Some people just don't answer their phone. You need to figure out which one is acceptable to them and use that. So that's a little bit of an effort. Kyle made a good point of trying to take advantage of this market by identifying investors. A lot of them probably bought multiple homes when things were lower and might be looking to capitalize on that now that we are either at or near probably a near-term market peak. So jumping onto chat boards full of investors or reaching out to them. On that same topic, John Glutch, who leads 3 teams, one here in San Diego, one in Las Vegas, and one where he started out in Scottsdale. And he was saying that he used a great beta, and he just put a Facebook post up saying, hey, I've got a buyer who's looking to pick up 3 investment properties with tenants in place here right now, and he actually got responses and leads out of a simple Facebook post, saying just that. No photos, just a text with a colored box behind it, and he posted it. So that was a great idea as well. Kim Ott's in San Francisco and uses Addressable to get traction for listing appointments. Colton Whitney in Orange County also mentioned a similar strategy, but he uses Yellow Letter. You can look both of those up. They're basically postcard and or mailer campaigns done for you. And if anybody's spent any time in coaching at all, you know that the 8x8 strategy is a huge one. Sending one piece each week for 8 weeks straight, it will definitely increase your visibility and your basic knowledge of who's working in the business. You're going to be a lot more familiar to people. So let's see here. I mean, the basic idea is I've got a buyer for your home. You know, it's nothing new and novel, but hitting those hard. So a way to follow through on that, like, hey, there's some questions that were asked, like, you know, what if I don't actually have a buyer? It's going to seem disingenuous if I just show up and start digging for a listing appointment when I told them in my marketing pieces that I've got a buyer looking for a home like yours. Well, first of all, do it in an area where you've got buyers, first of all. But if you don't, you can always rely on the big boys. He mentioned Open Door. You can use HomeLight. There's other institutional investors. If you're part of EXP, you can use Express Offers, where you're bound to get 2 to 4 offers in as little as 3 days. And you can go have that appointment, see the property, and come back with legitimate offers to present to them. Now, those offers might not be the most attractive because they're from investors and will likely be anywhere from 90, 80, 70, even 60% on the dollar, depending on what kind of investor you're talking to. But you're still being for real. You're still presenting a real offer. And if that doesn't work out, and in some cases it will. Some people are not interested in going to market. Some people are happy to sacrifice some cash for a quick and easy sale. For maybe the neighbors not knowing that they're going to be going to market. Some people are very private. Some people have different reasons. You know, maybe there's a divorce taking place, or some other reason that they just don't want their neighbors knowing what's going on in their business. Kyle mentioned that he's worked with politicians and celebrities in the past, and those people are more than happy to sacrifice some of the bottom line for that anonymity and privacy in the sale of one of their largest assets. So using the I have a buyer for your neighborhood postcards is a great way to take advantage and try and dig up sellers in this market. Let's see here. Tina Call is in North Carolina. She absolutely crushes back there. And she was saying that expireds are back. She's encouraging us to dig into the database, look for sellers who may be considered in the past, or simply go to a more typical expired and canceled campaign and go after them. She mentioned as well that we don't need to be a hero in this market. If we've got a deal and we think maybe we can squeeze an extra 5 or 10 or 20K out of a buyer, and we're working for the seller, it's not worth messing it up. You know, the old a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush is more than true in this market right now. So don't be the hero. Take a good deal, move on, put it under contract, make your seller happy, and keep moving. Because unfortunately, time is not really on our side as sellers and listing agents in this market. Bill Davis is up in San Francisco. He's another guy that's doing 100 million. Probably a year or two ago, he was literally doing half that. He's just absolutely come out of the gates. And he is saying to do the same, to really focus on your timeline, to build out your database and to do the boring stuff of the follow-up and the touch points as frequently as possible, because there is gold in your database. If you've been in the business for any significant period of time, more than a handful of years or whatever, you probably have a solid database with business waiting there if you could just go back and really nurture and love on your database. So he also mentioned updating the communications you're sending out. You know, the drips via email, the remarketing on socials, These messages that we have been using, whether you create them yourself or you use a plug and play option from someone like Ylopo or one of these other systems, they need to be at least audited, if not edited as well, because we need to be sending different messages to these prospects now that the market is different. So Mary Maloney, she's another rock star. She actually helped found the Fast Forward movement that we are part of. She's a North County, San Diego agent. And she was saying that she was expressing the importance of knowing the cyclical nature of your specific market. Of course, we all understand the general cycles. You know, people usually sell and buy more in the spring and summer than they do in the fall and winter. But she was saying specifically for her part of San Diego, the specific niche that she works in, most people, if they don't buy by the 4th of July holiday, they're probably going to drop it and start looking to rent because it's a very suburban neighborhood. They're worried about kids in school, and school is going to start soon, and people are busy with vacations. So they're actually saying that she's saying that in her area, the prime selling season shifts a little earlier than straight summer, and it's more in spring and early summer. And just to be aware of, you know, wiping out the COVID years, but in normal years, what is the actual cycle of your market and how does it work? And being intimately familiar with that, so you know how to strategize and to future pace and to look forward to what the market's going to be doing and how to plan for the rest of your year. Back to Glutch again. He mentioned video, commentary on the market, educating the people on what's happening. He also mentioned HomeBot that I've mentioned before. It's a great tool to help people be up to speed on the value of their home. And he has a great pre-selling thing that basically a list of different videos, educational pieces that all go out from one link that actually notify us when they are looked at, and each individual is looked at. It's called High Note. We use it here in our office as well. I use it to submit offers, use it as a pre-selling device, because the more content that I can get a potential seller to view of my own will not only help them with familiarity, understanding that I'm a professional in this market, but also if we really do it right, it can help us get that listing at the appropriate price instead of one that's going to cause headache for the seller and for ourselves as we fast forward a couple months and we're marketing. So videos and explanation of what's going on in the market. Treasure Davis is another beast out of Colorado, and she talked about role playing the general response to a common question that we get asked as agents, which is, how's the market? And if anyone's been exposed to Tom Ferry, a specific coach, the textbook response that he always gives is, well, that depends. Are you looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest? Because now you're not just making small talk with somebody, you are actually pinpointing the reason for their question, and you're answering that directly. And if maybe they're just being nice, then you can kind of focus in on one of those. But usually there's a reason people ask that type of question. So let's go ahead and speak to their reasoning instead of just talking about how good or bad things are for you personally, or, you know, how your year's going. Like that. That's not what they're asking. They don't really care about that. Maybe they are, and they'll articulate, no, I mean, how's your business going or whatever. But that's usually not the main point of a question like that. So role play that. How's the market? You know, and practice like what the best response is going to be in small talk, so that you can take just maybe an innocuous conversation like that and turn it into something a little bit more meaningful. She also mentioned something that we actually just got finished doing last weekend, which is client appreciation events. Here at the Whissel Group, we just had a huge summer barbecue kickoff. We had a food truck making burgers. We had long games. We had prizes. We had, you know, bounce houses and all kinds of stuff for kids. We actually, as a team, ended up with over 600 people in attendance, which means that as a team, there were literally thousands of touch points talking to people, inviting them out to our event. So if you're not doing at least once or twice a year, preferably quarterly events like we do, something to think about. And it doesn't have to be grandiose and super expensive like the one we did. You can come up with a way to do something special for your clients, even if it's on a smaller level. That is a nice give back. It's B, a reason, more importantly, it's a reason to contact them, not ask them for business, not talk about real estate, but make it personal, invite them to the event, and just follow the four script. Family, occupation, recreation, and desires, so you can just actually have a personal conversation with them, not asking them for business, not asking them referrals. Of course, if the conversation goes in that direction, you're in a great position to have that conversation. But these quarterly events that we put on are fantastic ways to make sure we stay sticky to our past client database and make sure we get the most out of repeat and referral business from our clients. So let's see here. Megan Fass in Washington, D.C. was focusing on pricing. She had a very different approach, and it was something that gave me pause and I might want to think about implementing in my own business. So basically, she says she doesn't really go in with a price or a CMA at all. She almost always does a two-step listing appointment. She goes out there, she presents herself, her company, what they do, and she explains ahead of time, like, I want to be able to put eyes on the property. I want to take photos and video if they're acceptable to that, and then go back and spend hours of investigation into doing that research to really tell them what the property is worth. Then she doesn't stop there. In lieu of just a typical second appointment, she actually offers them, says, hey, I think that a great thing to do would be to look at a few properties that would be your competition if you were on the market right now. Let's go tour them. And then you can tour one that is maybe sitting on the market for several weeks to several months. And you can look at one that's maybe a hot new property that is likely going to sell immediately. And you can literally walk through that home as though they were buyers for their own home, comparing these other properties to their listing. I feel like if you can make this a regular routine, I would be surprised if that doesn't really increase your closing percentage, because there's a lot more TLC. And more importantly, it's different. If you're competing with 3 or 4 other agents, there's a good chance none of them are doing that. There's a good chance that nobody else is going to make sure that they have to come back and see the property again and spend time talking to other agents who are under contract and finding out how many offers they received, how much market time they had, how did the negotiations go. If you come back with a report, not just a CMA, but a report on value, including up-to-date information from pending agents and a brief showing maybe just 2 or 3 homes, something like that, to explain what's happening in the market right now, it's going to be a lot more powerful. And these sellers are going to be, they're going to feel like you actually have their vested interest in heart, in mind, and that you're not just coming out trying to take another listing. So that was a great idea that she had. And finally, we had Cameron McClellan, who's also crushing it out in Colorado. He said that he kind of took a step back and said, you have to really understand your implementation strategy. So after a full hour of masterminding and talking and bringing up ideas, he basically said, like, what are you going to do with all the ideas? We've got an unlimited amount of ideas. All you have to do is go to YouTube, and you've got real estate coaches, you've got, people giving you ideas for free all over the place, but how are you going to implement that? Right. So he mentioned using Monday.com. It's a project management software that I also use myself. And if you don't have ideas that you can quickly put into a system and then work on when you're going to implement them, and have that time from idea to implementation be as small as possible, then why are you even bothering? Ideas are great, but it's all about the implementation and taking advantage of that and making it happen in your business. So that's pretty much the wrap on today's Monday morning mastermind recap. So I hope that's helpful for you. And a little bit of a bonus for you that Mary Maloney threw in at the end. Just a little bit of a dialogue, a conversation track with sellers, sitting down with them, making sure to educate them on your basic marketing 101 from college. Our P's are going to be product, price, promotion, packaging, position, and placement. And then figuring out what we're going to do on each of those subjects to help you, Mr. Seller, through this process. And then more importantly, what people and processes do we have that are going to lead you to the most profit? Because those are a bunch of great P's, but the worst P's are what the average agent is doing out there, which is putting a sign in your yard, placing it in the MLS, and then getting on your knees and praying that some other agent is going to come along and sell the home for you. So that is not what we do. We are not the average agent. We take a true marketing approach to this property, just like we would if we're working for Procter & Gamble or some huge company. We're going to focus in and make sure we can get you the most profit you want. So that was a nice little bonus Mary threw in there. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I look forward to talking to you soon. If you have any questions about any of it, just shoot me a DM. Take it easy.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you found it valuable and that there's something in there that you can implement into your business today. If you'd like more information, I'd love to be a resource for you. I'd also love to connect you with the mastermind directly if you'd rather see that instead of catching my recaps. And if you're interested in joining the Fast Forward Network,